G'day, folks. Welcome back to Great White Smoke Barbecue. I've got a pork belly here that one of my friends gave me. We did a little trade. Gave him a jar of my homemade barbecue sauce. He gave me some pork belly, so I've got some brining in the fridge right now. Going to do some bacon in a few days, so I am going to film that. Right now with this pork belly, I want to do pork belly burnt ends. I've trimmed off some of the fat here, and I'm just going to cut it up into 1 inch thick slices. And then once I get the slices, I'm going to cube them. Again, about 1 inch. Got those. Let's do this half. I've got the Traeger set to 275. Again, just using that competition blend that I have said before. So now that I've got all these cut up into 1 inch chunks, I'm going to season them with Wild Games Cooking all purpose. Flip them around, make sure you get all the sides. I don't want to go too thick with the seasoning just because I am going to put some barbecue sauce on after they're done smoking for a little while. Should be about 2 hours or until probe tender, and then I'm going to bring them back in and then put them in a foil sheet, or sorry, foil pan, and then put the barbecue sauce on them. I'm just getting the sides here with the leftover just so I'm not wasting. I'm going to start laying them on this rack here. I'm going to try and do fat side down. Find the rack is easier when you do it this way. So once you open your smoker, you can just throw the rack on the smoker and you won't be losing as much heat as placing one by one, because that will take some time. Almost just roll all these around. This is my first time doing this, so it'll be an experience. Nothing wrong with trial. Okay, now that I've got all these coated up and on my wire rack, I'm going to bring you guys outside and we're going to place it on the smoker. All right, guys, out at the smoker, you can see it's set to 275 there. Just going to open the lid up quick, throw these on, and I'll check in about an hour and a half. For the sides tonight, I'm just going to do an easy potato and egg salad. I picked up these little red mini potatoes. I already have them washed. Just going to simply just cut them in half. If they're smaller, something like this, I'm just going to throw right in. Some of these bigger ones I'm going to quarter. Probably just easier to do it quick all on one board. I got a bigger one here. I'm going to half it. That didn't work out the way I planned. Half it again. Same with this one. This is why I like sharp knives. I don't have to stand here and saw through the potatoes. Whoa, jumpins. Half. Quarter that one. Quarter this one. This one's got a little tail to it. All right. Now that we'll get these back all on the cutting board. Move these into my pot. Then we'll add some water and we'll put them on the oven. And then I've got some farm fresh eggs from my parents. So I'm probably going to do I'm going to do 10. I'm going to fill the water up just so it's about an inch above the eggs, and I'm going to boil them. Okay, we'll see you on the oven. Just a quick tip, guys. If your eggs float, they are bad. I just had one float on me. I had to throw it out. I'm just going to start this in a cold pot, and then when it gets up to temperature, I'm just going to completely shut off the heat and let it sit for 10 minutes, and then I'm going to put them in an ice bath. And when the potatoes start boiling, I'm going to make sure they go to fork tender and then strain them and put them in the bowl. And I'll show you the process on making the dressing and everything else I'm going to put in. All right, guys, I'm going to show you how to make the sauce for the potato salad. I just have one garlic clove. I'm just going to cut in half. Don't need a lot of garlic for this, but I do like the taste. We're going to chop it up really fine. That one got away from me there a little bit. All right. I'm going to throw the garlic in the bowl. Then we're going to add some mayonnaise. Then a little bit of mustard. That much should do. And use a little pickle juice. And of course, Wild Games Cooking hint of heat. All right, we're just going to take our spoon here, mix it all up, let it all incorporate. I kind of want the sauce a little runny. That way it'll be easier to coat all the potatoes and the eggs and everything else I'm throwing in there. Once we got it to about that consistency there, I'm just going to throw it in the fridge and just let it rest. The eggs have come up to a boil, so I'm just going to shut them off and let them sit there for 10 minutes, and then transfer them into an ice bath. As some of you know, for the past little bit, I've been making and jarring my own barbecue sauce. I'm just going to do a variation on it right now for the pork belly burnt ends. Just because this is a thicker sauce, I want to thin it out a little bit. It's a mustard and ketchup based sauce, and there's some Wild Games Cooking all-purpose, some of my parents' pure maple syrup. I'm going to add a little bit more in there of the syrup, just so it becomes a little bit more runny. And then I'm going to add a little hot sauce, a little sweet heat. I'm going to stir this around. And that's about the consistency I want it to be. The eggs have been sitting for about 10 minutes off the heat. I'm just going to transfer them now to an ice bath. I like this method because it helps the eggs not stick to the shell when you're peeling them. I'm going to let these cool down so I'm going to be able to handle them, and we'll peel them. Let the eggs sit for probably about 6-7 minutes. They're cool to the touch. Start to peel them here. Farm fresh eggs tend to be a little bit harder to peel than store-bought eggs because they are fresh. This one seems to be peeling really nice. I'm just putting the shells on a paper towel just so they're out of my way. I'm going to pop that back in the water. Go on to the next one. My potatoes also boiled and became fork tender, so I shut them off, and they are now resting in the strainer. Want them to cool down a little bit before I add the mayonnaise and mustard and pickle juice mixture. All right, 4 more to go. They might just be quicker just to leave the shell on the board. Oh, this one's not peeling as well. Doesn't mean it's bad, just means it didn't sit long enough. It is still edible and we will still use it. That was kind of a hack job there. Hopefully these last 3 peel better. It seems like it might have been that one egg that didn't want to peel well for us. Got a little camera shy, I guess. All right, on to the last one. All right, I'm gonna let those eggs sit in that water for a little bit, and then I'm gonna get rid of any of the leftover stuck on shells. I'm gonna wash my cutting board, and we'll be back to start chopping them up. Eggs are washed off, so I'm just gonna cut these guys in half. Cut them in half again, basically just quarter them. That way, when you eat the potato salad, you can still get a bite of egg. Just a couple more here. All right, on to the last one. Don't really like that bit. We're just going to throw that one out and transfer these to the bowl. Got the eggs in the bowl there. As you can see, I had to wash my cutting board knife again. Just going to half some pickles. One about a 1/4 inch thick. Another one. Get these transferred in with the eggs. Just felt the potatoes are still a little bit too hot. And grab some green onions. I already cut the ends off and peeled away all the bad parts. Just going to do a thin slice on these. I don't know if you guys lost it a little bit there behind the bowl. All right, I'm going to compost that. Throw those onions in there. Once the potatoes reach a reasonable temperature, I'm going to throw them in and we'll throw the sauce in on top. Okay guys, it's been about 1.5 hours. We'll lift this lid up and we'll check on these burnt ends, see if they're probe tender. Looks like it. I'm going to let these go for maybe another 15-30 minutes, just because there's some bigger chunks. And then we'll pull them off and put the barbecue sauce on them. Pull the pork belly off. Looks really good. Nice and crispy. I put it in this sheet pan. I'm just going to add my sauce. Stir it all up, make sure everything gets really coated. Just like that there. Then I'm going to throw these back on the smoker for another probably 30 to 45 minutes. And once that happens, we will give you the potatoes have cooled down to about room temperature. I added them in to the bowl. Just going to use a spatula now and just take all this dressing out. I'm going to mix it around a little bit. And also I'm going to add a little old shredded cheese. Everything's always better with cheese. All right, I'm going to let that all marinate in the fridge. And I'm going to go check on the pork belly burn ends. Pull the pork belly burn ends off the Traeger. The barbecue looks nice and tacky, or barbecue sauce looks nice and tacky on them. I'm going to plate these guys up here. They feel really tender in the tongue, so that should be a good indication that they will be very good to eat. Almost drooling. Then I'm going to take some potato salad, spoon that onto the plate. And let's just grab one of these. Give it a little taste test. I'm sure it's going to be very hot because I just took it off the smoker. But look at it. That is melt in your mouth. Try a little potato salad. Got some eggs, got some pickles, got a potato. That'll work. Remember, like, subscribe, and follow along. Great Smoke Barbecue. We'll see you next time. That's another meal. Remember, like, follow, subscribe. Great White Smoke Barbecue. We'll see you next one.